We're supposed to love our wife like Christ loved the church.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're supposed to seek to beautify her and to serve her and to steward our family and to rule over our family in a way that, like Christ himself would, right?
So we wanted to discuss the Dominion Mandate and how that relates, and kind of compare that to some of the unbiblical ideas of it today. Or I guess in the Dominion Mandate we're called to have dominion and be good stewards. They're two different words that are used. Rule over all creation. God has handed that over to us. So let's kind of talk about that, why it's important for us to have a correct understanding of that, and maybe look at like some things that people have done to distort that.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I figured we could just read the Dominion Mandate because it's on the first page of the Bible. And we should just know what it says.
We should know what it says, and it's important that we do, so that we can have, we should, like you said earlier, we should know about these things. We should know about creation. We should know about animals, because we're called to rule over them. And how are we going to properly rule over them if we know nothing about them?
Absolutely.
We have to have a correct definition of dominion, and since we're fallen, the definition, in order to even understand it correctly, needs to come from God.
Right.
Then that's his word.
Absolutely.
Right.
So we'll just start in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and it's a little bit of a long passage, but it says, "Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So all of creation. God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Then God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth which has life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning the sixth day. So I think when we talk about some of the foundations of the Dominion Mandate and its implications, I think that verse 31 is very important. God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good.
Wow.
So right there, it gives you a biblical foundation of how we should look at creation. And it says plants and animals, all birds, fish, that it's good. And so I think that's very important, because that one verse right there, God saying everything is very good, is going, how we view what that means is going to, depend on basically how we apply that.
Sure.
How we apply that.
It also talks about our rule, right? It talks about our rule there, and it says all of these things that he had created were good. He also created the Dominion Mandate, correct?
Yeah, I think what it does too is this is prior to the fall. So this is initial creation. We've got Adam and his job, and it is to subdue the earth over the animals and all of the fruits and veggies or whatever.
Yeah.
Name them. And it's important for God to tell us it's good, because right now we don't live in a perfect state. We live in a fallen state.
Right.
So we need to realize what creation was initially created for, because now when we plant and we do things, it yields thorns and thistles.
Right.
It wasn't like that in the beginning. So subduing and taking dominion looks totally different than it did prior to the fall. But but we need to realize what's the word I'm looking for? Like, Jesus Christ died to save us, but he also died to save, everything around us.
to redeem those things.
To
All of
redeem those
creation
things.
will
So
be
we need to
right.
we need to remember exactly what it's telling us, pretty
Right.
much. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's actually. Let me quote Dr. Wilson, Gordon Wilson here, what he
Yeah.
talks about, because this ruling over the plants and animals. At one point, he makes an analogy of how the man is supposed to be the head of a household,
Oh, okay.
and it's interesting because we're talking about dominion, right? And when we look at that word dominion, a lot of people, especially people who are against the Bible, will say, well, look, this just says you're supposed to, they see that word dominion as being a very bad thing.
Negative.
Right, which is the way that most secular people view the Christian view of marriage, of the male ruling over his household.
And it's also seen as, some people distort the word rule over for have good stewardship,
Right.
like be a good steward. Well, while we are supposed to be good stewards,
Right.
have dominion is have dominion, right? It's
Right.
a rule, so
Absolutely.
it's completely different from stewardship.
But I like the analogy he makes, because we're supposed to love our wife like Christ loved the church, and so we're supposed to seek to beautify her and to serve her and to steward our family and to rule over our family in a way that, like Christ himself would, right? And so I think the same thing applies. And let me just read one of the things he says in this about that.
And it's interesting you said that, because in order for us to properly have dominion in our household or be head of our household, we need to learn about our wives, right? We need to learn about our children. So we can't just say we have dominion over the earth. Let's destroy it. Let's rip it apart because we can do whatever we want because
Absolutely.
we're in charge of it. We need to see the beauty in it and how God has created it, see it as valuable because God created it, and treat it as such.
Right.
This is addition versus submission. Sinners need forgiveness. Surrender to his lordship. Don't extort the grace he's given. See, I'm blessed by the one, Yahweh, all day. I'm a wretched sinner, deserve hell for always.